Hello, my name is Steve Brown. I'm a former mayor of Peachtree City and a former Fayette County commissioner. And I'm running again for mayor of Peachtree City. And let me tell you why. Over the past 4 years with our current mayor, we've had a lot of things that we're very, very concerned about. And I'm going to give you an illustration of that today. On June 16th, 2022, Mayor Kim Learnard cast a deciding vote for a very controversial mixed-use condominium complex. And here's what she didn't tell you. The property owners behind that project had given her in-kind campaign contributions and hosted a large fundraiser to support her election. Now, despite this clear conflict, Mayor Learnard failed to disclose the contributions, and she refused to recuse herself from the vote. It was really a betrayal of the city's citizens' public trust. Now, let me tell you this. Here's how the mayor set up this condominium complex proposal. They did multifamily housing surveys. I don't know who did the questions, but they were the most biased questions you ever saw. You could only choose apartments, condominiums, and townhomes as your answer. And one of the citizens at the meeting noted that there was no choice available for leaving our award-winning land plans unchanged. That wasn't even an option in the survey. So she was using that information to kind of propel the need for this condominium complex, which she refused to tell anyone that it happened to be her campaign contributor's project. Well, citizen Susan Brown, and this is the same Suzanne Brown who is now the city council member. This was before she was on city council. She attended the meeting for this proposal, and she addressed Mayor Learnard directly, asking if anyone on the council, and she was looking directly at Mayor Learnard, had received any kind of in-kind contributions and that they should recuse themselves. Watch the video.
April 21st, in a special called meeting, City Attorney Ted Meeker spoke about the lawsuit Brookhaven lost, leaving the city of Brookhaven, the mayor, and city manager liable for $6 million in damages. Meeker cautioned the officials to remember that a public hearing was a quasi-judicial proceeding, and they were sitting like judges in the matter. He said they should not have contact or conversations with the applicant or with citizens. On May 12th, Jack Bernard, former planning commissioner, wrote a letter to the editor and the Citizen opposing this rezoning. He outlined 3 good reasons to defeat it. On May 15th, Mike King wrote a comment criticizing Bernard, saying it's only 12 condos, and accused him of spreading disinformation. In other words, he weighed in long before this hearing. Mike King made it known he made his decision more than a month before the public hearing was convened. He's supposed to be an unbiased judge in this. That's a reason he must recuse himself tonight and not have a vote. We need to deny this request. I'd also like to ask if there's anybody else sitting on the council who's had an ex parte relationship with Mr. Royal and need to recuse themselves. Has anybody ever received a free meal at Partners or gotten a political campaign contribution from any of them? You might want to think about that.
And of course, the mayor didn't recuse herself or even disclose that she had gotten campaign contributions from the applicant. The room was packed full of citizens who were incredibly worried about this type of development. They did not want it. There were also some people there from the local political action committee, Plan for PTC, who are pro apartments, pro condominiums, and pro townhomes. They were also there, and they support Mayor Learnard. Let me get you now to citizen Jerry Cook. He showed up at the meeting. He also spoke, and he raised a very important point. He noted that the entire 7.6 acres that was going to be rezoned could have been possibly more multifamily units. And so what they were doing was they were sending a proposal saying, look, it's just going to be this one building. It's just going to be 12 units. But Mr. Cook wisely notes that, wait a minute, once they build the 12, they can build all the rest of the property full of the same exact units. Let's watch this.
Primary concern that I have with this request for rezoning is looking at the relatively small portion of Partners in that area compared to the 7.6 acres that's being requested for rezoning. It leaves a large tract of land that we're not clear, and I think it opens up the possibility of more compacted, more dense, maybe 3-story retail or whatever, but it would be adding a lot more to that area. So there's a high potential of that happening if that's rezoned. Um, and the whole idea of a precedence being set by the approval. As we know, Highway 54 is already overtaxed with traffic with no remedy to get around the gridlock in the morning. The possibility of approval of this similar construction would contribute to even more traffic and gridlock. Also at North Lake Drive in 54 is an incredibly slow light. So more and more people coming through that light would be more wait times for people to get out on 54. Quality of life is very important to the city, and overtaxing the roads decreases the favorable quality we have had over the years. I would offer up, and I don't know all the details of other possibilities, but there seems to be a lot of land left in Peachtree City where this type of development could be developed. Huddleston Road may be a possibility, or going further down south on 74. There's a statement in the packet that said, however, all the other roads serving the property, including Aberdeen Parkway and Flat Creek Road, have excess capacity and provide alternatives around the 74 and 54 intersection. I think more and more traffic coming through there, more and more people in those areas is just going to quickly reduce that excess capacity that's being claimed would be there. On page 44 of 78 of the memorandum, it states that the planned construction will serve as a model for other redevelopment that may occur in the area. This information shows that there's an open door for additional redevelopment and development in areas. Again, I'm not opposed to development, but I think there's a great potential for there to be more compacted and more places that are going to be built. Regarding walkable lifestyle, I know there was a comment earlier about people being able to go down the elevator and go to partners. But I think in most areas, like if you go to Buckhead, places like that, millennials or Generation Xers, they want the ability to go down from their unit and travel to many different restaurants. I mean, Partners is one restaurant. There's only one other one, I believe, that in the area. So I don't think people are going to be trying to walk from that area to go to the Avenue to have dinner. I think it's just not going to happen. You do have access to the park and other walking paths. On page 12 of the memorandum, it states that the nearby access to 54 and Flat Creek will provide quick and easy travel to other areas of Peachtree City. I believe that's going away. The ability to travel is going to be even tougher as time goes by and more construction is there. And this is an aside. I know it's not really in Peachtree City, but the commercial area down at Fisher Road, where they're building, I think, a commercial and residential area there. If you inject those cars traveling through, like people would be going to Fayetteville and other places, it creates even more gridlock. And I think that's something we definitely need to consider as we're approving construction here in the town.
Thank you.
And Mr. Cook was right. And multiple people in that audience came up and gave the same sort of points that Mr. Cook was talking about. Traffic. We don't need overly dense housing. We don't want to urbanize the city. Well, then there's Frank DeStadio. He's a city councilman. He's a former longtime planning commission chairman. He attested, and you can't pull the wool over this man's eyes. He attested that the property owner had previously desired to build 200 multifamily units on that same site. Now watch as DeStadio attempts to make a solid argument. Now he's a civil engineer and a knowledgeable former planning commissioner. And watch the pro-apartment and condominium council members go on the attack. You will see Councilman Mike King and Mayor Learnard become visibly and physically agitated on the dais as DeStadio lays out his thoughtful argument. Watch as DeStadio rightly points out that the planning staff, at the request of the mayor, on behalf of the mayor's campaign contributor, pulled some ethical gymnastics, claiming that the proposed multifamily complex actually complies with a version of the city's comprehensive plan. Unfortunately, it was a plan that had yet to be approved by the city council. Frank points out that the proposed project clearly did not meet the existing criteria of the comprehensive plan that was in force at the time of the hearing. As DeStadio makes more and more sense on the negatives of the mayor's campaign contributor's plan, Learnard herself goes on the attack, trying desperately to stop DeStadio, shutting him down. And then DeStadio actually acknowledges in public that members of the city council were threatened to approve this complex or else. This is a little bit longer of a clip, but it's important to watch. Watch Frank DeStadio. He's a very knowledgeable, longtime planning commission member, and he makes it perfect sense and shows you why you shouldn't do this.
Whatever side you're on, what for or against. I like the fact that we've got people here because sometimes we sit here and it's nowhere near this crowded. So thank you all. I take exceptions to some of the things that were said, especially people that were so, I guess I want to say, forceful in their comments and pointing to us that we have to do something. We're all trying to do whatever we can for the citizens of Peachtree City. I do take some exceptions again to my good friend, and I always try to emphasize that because I don't think I'm making any points with Robin. But nevertheless, and when you look at the evaluation criteria makes some comments that, and I won't go into 1207 again, but it states down on the second page under number 2, whether the zoning proposal will permit a use that is suitable in view of the use and development of the adjacent and nearby property. And our comment is the surrounding commercial and residential use is not inapplicable with the proposed use. I beg to differ with you. There's no mixed use property anywhere around there. So it is incompatible with what we already currently have, my opinion. And then when you take a look on page 3 of that same thing, on the bottom, it says whether there are existing or changing conditions affect the use and development of the property, which gives supportive grounds for either approval or disapproval. We state that there are no changing conditions affecting the use of the property, and that doesn't also affect the use of the surrounding properties. I disagree because it's Highway 54. And I do agree somewhat with a lot that's said. So basically what I wanted to start by saying is what I think we all agree. Most of us, if not everybody in this room, knows Jim and Marilyn Roy. I know I've met them many times. God knows that I've taken my grandkids. I've lived here since 2000, and I chose to live here. The job that I got when I got out of the Air Force was in Norcross. My wife and last daughter loved Peachtree City, so I drove to Norcross every morning and back, 56 miles. Because we love Peachtree City, just like the rest of you. And God knows that 3 of my 5 grandkids grew up in the Royals Pizza. The worst thing that happened was when you took those machines out. But I can also tell you that I think I own the free world supply of those little red bouncy balls that they throw against the wall. So it's absolutely not against the Royals, just like everyone has said. But I would have to tell you that not long ago, Jim Royal, with a developer that I won't name, proposed 200 homes to be built with some apartments on that property. I can tell you this because I was the chairman of the planning commission when they came to the planning commission. That application failed by a vote of 5-0. Actually, to my surprise, Jim never took it to the city council to oppose that, to try
Point
to
of order. I object to the statement that you said Mr. Royal brought it. He did not. He had nothing to do with that.
The Royal property came with his attorney to the planning commission. He was physically there, Mike. I looked over and I saw the man. So he was
You're
there.
saying it's his proposal. That's where you're coming from. It's the same thing that Jack Bernard said. It was not. He had nothing to do with it. It's the point I'm
It was
trying
an
to make to
outfit
you.
called Watkins Development that I'm familiar with because they're from my hometown in Lakeland, Florida. And that's who came and presented it.
Okay, I think we're splitting hairs
No.
because
We're not splitting hairs. You're making a false statement.
then mark it down as false if you want to. Jim Royal was in the room because I looked over to Jim and the proposal was made for his property by whoever you want to say made the property.
Watkins Development.
Thank you. And it was for 200 homes on that property. And I was surprised that it wasn't challenged later on. But nevertheless, it didn't. And that not long after that, some of you have already made the statement that we had the LCI. I think you all may remember the LCI. It's been talked about. I was on the LCI as the core team, one of the 7 core team people that were there. That study looked at sites along Highway 54. It looked at sites that was right on Highway 54 in front of Drake Field. It looked at Willow Bend Shopping Center, that blue top shopping center just up the street. And it looked at an area right from on Commerce Drive, right across from the Mexican restaurant, among others. There were sites on Huddleston. There were sites up Commerce Drive as well. And some of those were good. I didn't think anything wrong with the one all the way up near the Holiday Inn. But nevertheless, the ones on Highway 54, I objected to, as did some of you citizens if you went ahead, like one of the applicants said, where the balls were out bouncing out of the box that said, do nothing. And that's what I think that happened. The citizens spoke out, and the people, when that package came to the city council, the city council chose not to accept that application. Well, we seem to be going back in time because now we're seeing more of these mixed-use facilities pop up again. I do take exception that we have the application said that it's in compliance with the comprehensive plan that isn't approved yet. So, okay, if the comprehensive plan isn't approved yet, it's not in compliance with the current comprehensive plan. So some of you that have said that the comprehensive plan is moving in that direction, I take exception to that. I think the proposed comprehensive plan may be doing that, but that hasn't been approved by the city council. And I don't know that it will be. But I said also, one of the applicants made the statement I was going to make, that right in the justification package that's been submitted, not by the applicant's counsel, but by a statement that's on called the narrative justification, which I believe is from the applicant. Maybe his attorney wrote it, but it was stated, and I quote, again, the applicant/owner may seek to develop the other buildings on site in a similar fashion in the future. Now, yes, that means it would still have to come back to the planning commission, and it would be approved or disapproved and come to the city council. But how much clearer can it be that if Jim wanted to sell his property, or if he wanted to will his property to his kids when he decided to retire, that he could or they could come back in and ask that the rest of this property be developed either in homes, apartments, or more condominiums. All I'm saying is that this probably is not going to be the end of this decision-making that we're going to be having. And many of you said the same thing. So I say that it's very difficult. We can, and it's been said, we can say no to that. The planning commission can review it and say no. The city council, if the planning commission said yes, can look at it like tonight and say no. All I'm saying is that, in my opinion, that it's going to be very difficult if this is approved to say no. If we say no, then the applicant, whoever that is, after Jim and Marilyn decided to move to wherever they come from, I don't know, you've been here forever. There you go. I know that you know a very good friend of mine who's passed away, but nevertheless, he's always talked about you being here forever, so you probably are. But the point is that we can say no, yes. But just like I think, once you establish a precedent of approving this front part, it's going to be impossible to turn it down. So if you turn around and go to court because we do say no, our good attorney, not Mike over here, but Ted Meeker has told me personally that he's got a lot of good arguments in his quiver that could fight this for us. And then he turned right around and he said, there's no guarantees when we go to court. So I would tell you there's no guarantees if we do go to court that we would win if we turned it down. So I'm not in favor of trying to go to court. I think too much of the Royals. Additionally, let me continue. This says that the owners of the Willow Bend Shopping Center, Lamar Management, have twice come to the previous mayor and city council members. At least they came to the mayor. I don't know about the city council because I heard that specifically from the prior city manager. They came twice asking for almost the same thing. They want to keep their office, which is just above the coffee shop, but they want to take out Al's Cleaners and the leather shop that does the repairs on my wife's purses, and then all the way down, and they want to remove the other building where they want to have, where we have the chiropractor, and do a a multi-use facility over there. That's, guess what? That was also in the LCI. They have since come back to the mayor and I when we were in a meeting with them. Very nice people, Lamar Management. When they asked us specifically what we thought, we quickly said we don't have an opinion because it hasn't been presented to the city council yet. But they're clearly looking for an answer. They went on to say it was a legacy center from their father, and they would like to keep it. But I think truly they're trying to find out where we thought it was going to stand. So in my opinion, I don't think it's a pipe dream that if we approve this renovation for 12 high-priced condos, that eventually could open up the floodgates to have more multi-use housing. And I'm not worried about multi-use housing in general around the city. That's up to the council for other opportunities. But I am concerned about this property on Highway 54. You've heard all the people talk about the problems. I think that would just add to the terrible situation that we've had on Highway 54. If I asked anybody in this room, or let alone anybody in the city, what is the most important thing you want us to handle? And I think the lady last one that brought it up, you would probably tell me the traffic. So why would we ever consider to do anything that's going to increase the traffic? Now, 12 units is not the problem. Mike said that, others have said it. It's the potential for where it grows from there. So I specifically don't think this is a good idea. I love Jim Royal and Maryland, and I would tell you that I think that 12 units is not the issue. It's the domino effect it's going to have going down Highway 54 in particular. And I also think some of the individuals wanted to put the scare into you. Oh, yes, you can get a gas station. Oh, yes, you can get all these terrible things. That's true. You could. I don't think that's what Jim and Marilyn Royal want to do. I can see things that Jim could do to improve. I think, by the way, I think it's a beautiful design. I think that Jefferson Brown did his typical great design. I just don't like the condos. I like all the rest of the things. And yes, we have a lot of aging retail stores that need to be upgraded, just like this. And if he wanted to do that, if they wanted to do that, I'd be the first one in line that said it's a great idea to improve those aging facilities.
Councilmember DiStadio, we are having a council discussion amongst each other. Do you have any more you want to say to the council
I have
members?
just a few more sentences.
Please find a conclusion.
I have a conclusion
Okay.
now. So my point is that many individuals, and you guys as well, that we've talked to have said there's not enough housing in Peachtree City. I would tell you honestly that that's not true. We have Raven Homes that's building 92 Crestwind style facilities just up the street on Highway 54. Yeah, it's Highway 54, but it's on the east side that we all hope is going to go out of town. Let me finish, Mike. I've talked to Rock DeGorian. He's got approval for what he believes are 60 to 80 townhomes on that end of town. I know there's approval on Rockaway Road for townhomes. There's a lot of approval of homes that Phil is concerned with for property. So in conclusion, I'd like to say that the council members need to know that if we vote in favor of these proposals, in reality, I think the Peachtree City citizens need to understand some things that are going on. Right now, we've got members of this council that have been threatened that if we don't vote yes, then there's going to be consequences. And I think that's terrible. Those are the kinds of things that go on in Washington, D.C. or in other states, not in this little town of ours. We shouldn't be threatened by the mob to vote one way or the other. We need to vote for all our citizens, pro or against whoever voted for us. So for the reasons that I've stated, and for that specific concern that some of us have been threatened to vote one way or the other, then I think that it's time that we stood up and said no to the mob. Thank you very much.
Councilman DiStadio made excellent points. You could see the pro apartment condominium townhome people on the dais getting incredibly nervous. And then Mayor Learnard actually cuts him off in mid-sentence, telling him to hurry up and finish up. This is the way she treats her council members that disagree with her. This has been historically the way Kim treats all her council members. It's disgraceful. Next is Councilwoman Gretchen Kaola. Now, Ms. Kaola had no government experience at all. She almost knew nothing about the process. So she was trying to ask some questions related to the multifamily complex that Mayor Learnard's campaign contributor was proposing. but Mayor Learnard would not allow her to get the answers from the campaign contributor. So here she is. She goes by and asks, this is Miss Kayola, asks if the approval could be deed restricted to just 12 multifamily residential units. Now, the city's planning director jumps in. That's Robin Callow. And by the way, she was just recently terminated for some bad behavior, let's just say. And Kayola gets lied to by the planning director, who says, no, that's not possible. I personally know that's a lie because I have approved dozens of rezoning requests with pages of conditions for approval by the city and the county. So here they are. They're not disclosing their financial arrangements with them. They're cutting off the guy who makes the most logical argument in the entire room. And then they lie to the inexperienced council member to tell her that something that she could do, she actually couldn't do. Let's watch that clip.
Okay, and then how is it going to be coordinated that a max of 2 rentals will be in that?
Could you address, we're going to have a council discussion
Okay.
now. We're not.
How do
in the
you-
audience.
Okay, how do you get the 2 rentals out of the 12? How is that coordinated?
I thought I heard it mentioned as that of the 12 units, only 2 would be permitted at a time as a rental unit. That's the way I heard it.
Okay, so is it going to be like an HOA? Do we know?
How we do it with the other subdivisions.
Okay,
They have to, when they do their plating, they have to submit a copy of the covenants
Okay.
and we review those.
okay. And then would it be deed restricted to allow no more than 12 units on the entire site, or is this opening? Is this the 7 point something acres could be 12 now, and could in the future, should they come to city council, be 12, 18, 20? Could
Yeah.
that happen in
What they're
theory?
asking for now is 12 for the whole property. Could they come in the future?
Yes,
Sure.
they
Okay,
could.
so it's not deed restricted just to that?
No, you can
Okay.
never change. Yeah, you can never control somebody. It's a constitutional right to petition your government.
Okay, okay.
So
All right, just asking. That's all I asked. That's all I have.
She is absolutely lying to Miss Kayola, saying, no, you can't do deed restrictions. You can absolutely ask for deed restrictions as a condition of approval. Then all of a sudden, the Stadio joins in, and he is asking if the city can ask the mayor's campaign contributor applicant if they can agree to a deed restricted number of multifamily units. And then the mayor immediately jumps in, and then she lies and says, no, watch this. This is incredible. And then the planning director jumps right back in behind the mayor and backs her up with the same lie. And then Councilman King chimes in just saying, well, that would be unfair. Unfair to who? How about being unfair to the citizens of Peachtree City? The best interest of the cities was being sidelined. Let's watch the Stadio as he jumps in.
The owner to make it deed restricted?
No, that's not the
Okay.
no, you
proposal.
can't. You can't take away constitutional rights through zoning.
So then they lied to the Stadio as well. And let me tell you, I have studied all the constitutional laws related to land planning and takings. And the Supreme Court gives cities and counties and the state incredible latitude to do whatever they want to in these zoning cases. You literally have to make a piece of property useless in order to hold a city or county accountable for those actions. They're just making it up as they go to help the mayor's campaign contributor. Well, then Mayor Learnard herself gives her overwhelming support for the contributor's multifamily proposal. She says it's for an aging population, but there's no age restriction in the proposal at all. And then the mayor goes and casts a deciding vote for her campaign contributor. No disclosure of the campaign contributions, and she did not recuse herself from voting. And it was approved 3-2 because the mayor's vote was the deciding vote. And all the people who came and filled up that chamber who were in opposition walked away stunned. Let's watch the final vote.
It is my belief that, first of all, this is a standalone decision. Second of all, We're all here because we love this community, and whatever form we feel that will take, or whatever each and every one of us thinks is best, that's what we're here to discuss. So I'm proud of the discussion tonight. Most of us don't want to see Peachtree City change, but that does not mean we need to watch our buildings fall into disrepair or sport 1975 architecture. In my opinion, this is a much needed update in the heart of our town. I think it's beautiful, and it will serve only a tiny bit of a desperate need for condos for our aging population. So for that reason, I will vote in favor. Can I get a motion?
Mayor, I would move that we approve the public hearing 6/22/05, the rezoning request for 215 North Lake Drive from GC to LUC.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no.
No.
Motion carries 3-2. Thank you.
So if you want honest, accountable government, I'm going to ask you to go vote in October in early voting. It starts on the 13th, and the first Tuesday in November is election day. If you will vote for myself and council member who's running for council, James Clifton, we will give you honest, accountable government. I've got a track record for being honest, accountable, forthright, and everything's done in the public. Everything's disclosed that needs to be disclosed. We don't need to keep doing favors for political action committees, contributors, whomever anymore. Let's stop it. I hope you're going to vote. Thank you.